O song celestial. Hello, Bhagavad Gita. Let me see what comes out of me when I read thee. Yo, the show must go on. Yeah, I haven't pushed myself really far today, because you also need rest days. For remember, yesterday I hiked, so today I simply took it a little bit easier. Yeah, I don't know what the rest of the Bhagavad Gita will be about. Until now I am... well... yeah, I'm set in my ways. To a certain degree. And if I read what somebody wrote, and then it doesn't matter if it's a short story or an entire book or just a poem, then I basically know who he is. Because you cannot hide this. And I know this because when I write, there's a certain something in me that simply comes out. So I don't like this whiny kind of, you know, we're all light and that kind of stuff, because that won't help you to survive. What will help you to survive is experience, which is then your shadow. And you can have probably a really whiny shadow. I mean, these are all just words. But that's to me what my shadow is. It's something that, yeah, teaches me restraint. Because I know the cost of always going all out. But if you read what I've read until now from the Gita is simply, it's not disappointing. It's also not revealing anything. Well, I pinned it down to the guy who wrote it was some kind of whiny poet who just sat around loving everything. Yeah, okay. I don't think that's what we need. Because if you want to stay in the middle, then it ain't about loving everything. You know, you can really love your child, and then your child will manipulate you into buying it what it wants. So, even for raising children, you need to be a little bit intimidating, because that's then a good lesson. Think of a little lion cub. The parents are intimidating. Certainly are intimidating. Now imagine the way it is today. You don't have to imagine that, you just have to look at it. Parents running after their children. For what? Guidance? Your child cannot give you anything. You should know by now how life is played. Well, if you don't know it, well, then you never really wanted to know, right? Because if you would have wanted to know, then you would have paid attention. So that's all I can say to this. I cannot say it's your fault. I cannot say it's not your fault. Who's to blame? It was a choice, right? You could not see further than this, but you also didn't want to see further than this. And maybe your life just didn't give you the chance, but that's just bollocks. Because it's not necessarily life that gives you chances, it's whether or not you want to know. Okay, is there something I can do to make this better? That's what you can say. Well, yes and no, right? You have to be strong, otherwise it's just gonna make it worse. So if you lack resolve... So this guy who wrote the Bhagavad Gita, I can tell you 100% he would have never gotten through the hike I did yesterday. That's just what I believe. Otherwise you could never write like this. Even in a story, I as an author, whether I am a good author or not, is maybe irrelevant. But when I write, then there is a certain... there's a message you want to send. Which means if I, let's say, I would write a character like Arjuna, completely sucking up to some kind of a guy. Then in my work, this would turn into a teaching. Which means you would write a dialogue. Let's say I would have written the Bhagavad Gita. It would have never turned out this way. I would have highlighted the shadow parts as much as the light parts. He just tries to highlight the light parts and ignore the shadow parts. And you can simply tell this. So he was a coward, basically. And if you want to go back to the times where people may have listened to Ram Dass, such as I, he would have called them then a love-drunken bhakti. That's who wrote the Bhagavad Gita. But apparently he was that too. Because he didn't want to look at the shadow, he only wanted to look at the light. And then think like he made it. Yeah, okay. But he didn't, because he never dared look at the shadow. So he was a runaway. A little scaredy cat, but that's okay. Because there's lots of them. I sometimes would like to chicken out, and then I don't. Because what's the point chickening out now? Because if you still, you have the light, it's not just gonna be darkness. But you'll have the light. And the darkness, so that's where life happens. That's what I experience on a hike, you go on a hike that seems gloomy and dark, but you bring the light. That's why I made myself a staff to help me carry the light through. Well, it's not really dark anymore, but there are dark periods on hikes. Because you're also facing yourself, but in the most unexpected ways, so you never know what's gonna happen. And that makes the hike itself a transcendental, basically psychedelic experience. I mean, 30 kilometers, it's not about the time you make this in. Maybe it was 40, you know, I don't know how long this is. I just know it takes me then roughly maybe 13 to 16 hours. If I also take my rest in between. And this is a real experience. Reading this book is not an experience. It's actually a drag. Right? And if I don't feel like reading something to the end, then you know why. Because it's lacking something. It's make-believe. It's just an illusion. That's not how life is. Right? So, yeah, you want to live, you gotta face death. And that's how you grow as an individual. And that's how you know when dark times should come. Then you've prepared yourself adequately. Because you just don't know what is going to happen. So no, ignorance is not bliss. It may feel like bliss until, you know, what you then believe cancer is hits. While for me, cancer is just your ignorance. You see what I'm saying? You know, cancer is just your ignorance. But if you're trying to ignore your ignorance, then you're gonna believe you've got cancer. Because then other people are gonna tell you what you have, and they're gonna make money with it. You can count on it. So it's better to simply train yourself in diet, and then learn, maybe as I have, that sugar is no good for us. And neither is coffee, and neither is gluten, and neither is yeast, and neither is alcohol. Well, meat seems to work. Well, and neither is salt in large quantities. So it's better to stop getting used to not eating salt, and then maybe just using it to ferment vegetables. Then you've got your salt, right? Why do you need more? Plus, there's already salt in food anyway. You know, I'm waiting for the day where I find a salt crystal in nature. That would be interesting. Because I'm still wondering where where did they get all the salt from back in the days? That's a really good question. And how did it affect them? Like before and after? That would be interesting. Because now we've just got everything and then loads of it. So we can't really tell anymore the true before and after. As in, have grown up without ever eating salt. Or have grown up without ever doing anything else. So let us just adapt a little to the environment we find ourselves in. And that starts by discovering it. So to me, yesterday was truly a good experience. Now I'm just gonna read chapter 12 if I can stand it. But this is already everything you need to know. The rest now will just be nonsense. Arjuna speaketh. Lord, this is already now a terrible idea. Of the men who serve thee true in heart as God revealed, and of the men who serve worshipping thee unrevealed, unbodied, far, which take the better way of faith and life. I'm just waiting for people who will stumble, across this and they think, oh wow, somebody finally who can teach me the Gita. And then I'm just taking it apart, like, what is this? Complete bullshit, And then you may say, oh, that's not what I expected. I thought the Gita was supposed to be the teaching. No, the teaching is, living your life and suffering adequately, which is then pushing your boundaries. So you live in a city environment. The idea is, for me, at one point it's just gonna get boring. So you have to earn, right? You have to go for a hike that is so strenuous that when you come back, you're gonna be super glad that you can still be in this apartment. And then 5 days later, it's gonna be boring again. You go for another hike, the next hike. And then you do the same thing, right? You just push through nature, and then you can enjoy the comfort. And then you push through nature again, and then you can go back to enjoy the comfort. And that's how you also recharge, because even comfort can be strenuous. So you gotta be tough either way, because you wanna lead an active life. You wanna play chess? Yeah, okay, you gotta have a good mind, so, push yourself. You wanna solve the Rubik's Cube? Okay. You wanna be able to solve it in 20 years still? Well, okay, then you gotta have to keep training your mind, So you need to be a survivor. This is not survivor material. This is standing around talking. And that's what I'm saying also. But it's not, because, it always reflects back onto me when I say this is standing around talking. Well, look who's talking. Yeah, me, Christopher. Because it's part of my business, right? I have a business plan. This is advertising me as a creator, most of all as an author. Because that's what I believe, right? The more I put myself out there, the more likely it is that people will eventually buy my books. No matter the shipping cost, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, hey, I don't like Amazon, so I support some self-printing service from Germany. And because of my support, they're gonna get incredibly rich, and then they're gonna expand, and then I helped create the next Amazon. So nothing is truly good. Anyone who suddenly has a giant income, what are they gonna do with all the money? If they suddenly sell lots of books that they haven't sold before. Well, what's gonna happen? Well, I'm not sure they really thought about this. It's probably gonna go to their heads. And then they're gonna flatter themselves, and then I'm partly responsible for bringing this about. So everything has a shadow. Nothing is just nice. But also everything has a bit of light. I just don't see how selling lots of books has a lot of light. Well, for me, it would be then, it's speculation, of course. I mean, I'm playing poker, all in. I'm all in. I'm completely invested into this thing. And I'm still kind of astonished that life lets me continue in such a way. And I am waiting every day for something to happen that it will all be taken away. But what I know now already is that if that would happen, then I would never be able to pick myself up from there. And that's the truth that I believe in. I have become this creative guy. I am no longer able to lead a different life. So if life would come and take it all away, my tower would completely crumble. And I would no longer be able to maintain this. So what would I do then? Well, okay, I could say then I'll take a different job. But then I couldn't continue with all of this content. Or could I? Could I work for money and still do this? Well, the idea is, because for me, my life just turned out to be this way. And in certain ways, you cannot choose everything. If your heart speaks to you and it says, do this, just do it, man, then do it. If you've got a job and you're working, let's say a normal 40-hour week job, well, what are you doing when you get back home? So instead of eating pizza, lots of cheese, and what else would you be eating? Chips, chocolate. Well, I mean, stick with the chocolate, but be creative. I mean, eat things that help you to be creative. Drink a black tea. You come back home, right? You cleanse yourself. because, you know, the world outside is dirty. You prepare yourself for an art session or for something creative, for doing pottery, for starting to learn crochet, for instead of watching movies, you start to read. So you train your mind to be able to imagine things again. So you can imagine yourself living the life that you would like to live. That's what you have to do. So it doesn't matter in what situation you find yourself in, because what I'm living is also always partly hell. So you think you're in hell, well, there is no escape. Nothing is, really better. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm always afraid it will be taken away. Like so many things, right? I'm always afraid it will be taken away. I try to get a bit of freedom, and then life comes and says, that's too much freedom. So you fall in love with slacklining. Suddenly you can't do this anymore. Now you have to be alone all the time and create content for people you don't know. So then maybe one day something else can happen. And then you think, well, maybe one day I'm going to stand on a stage. Yeah, maybe. But when? So, you want to have a wife and children? Well, okay, yeah, but how long is it going to take? Okay, Krishna speaketh. I was super motivated in the beginning to do this, but the more I read about, all this stuff, the less motivated I am. Because it just teaches you nothing. It doesn't even tell you to hold planks. It doesn't tell you to toughen up. It just tells you to stand around and worship something. Nothing's gonna happen. You have to live, man. You don't have to sit around and worship something. You just have to be active and creative. Whoever serve me as I show myself, constantly true. Yeah, as if. Constantly true, right? Yeah, constantly true. That sounds really make-believe, my friend. In full devotion fixed, those hold I very holy. But who serve worshipping me, the one, the invisible, the unrevealed, unnamed, unthinkable, uttermost, is just pure ego, the guy. I'm the one, yeah. At least Neo in the Matrix, didn't say, yeah, man, I'm not like the one. I just figured out I can do something, But yeah, don't suck up to me. I think that's in the second one where this guy comes and, Neo. You really have to stay grounded in this. Yeah, you think I'm something special, you just haven't looked hard enough in yourself. And that's okay. It's just, why are you running away from yourself towards me for? You should just be doing this yourself. The invisible, the unrevealed, unnamed, unthinkable, uttermost, all-pervading, highest shore, who thus adore me, mastering their sense, of one set mind to all, glad in all good, these blessed souls come unto me. Yeah, what a blessing to come to you. I'd say what a blessing to go hiking and swim in a natural lake, where somebody doesn't try to tell me how awesome he is. Yet, hard the travail is for such as bend their minds to reach the unmanifest. That viewless path shall scarce be trod by man bearing the flesh. Oh boy. But whereso any doeth all his deeds, renouncing self for me, full of me fixed to serve only the highest, night and day. Wow. It's just not. Like I said, if you would just say that you just have to see oneness in everything, if Krishna would say it like this, hey, listen, you just have to look at the whole thing. And then you have to figure out, okay, what can I do now? What is the right choice? Because maybe you got to choose something. Maybe people are willing to follow you. Okay, you've got some power. How do you want to invest it? Okay, you don't want to fight. What's your alternative plan then to resolve this? And if you would then say, you want to know God, then know life. Right? That's how you teach this. You want to know God, know life. Find God in every facet of your life. Don't go around and say, yeah, that's God, and I'm gonna worship it. Yeah, you could be worshipping a shoe. And that's the problem I have. And that's what I'm trying to teach here. Oneness cannot be personified in one guy. Like I said, you can be omnipresent, but that doesn't make you God. It doesn't even make you a God. It just makes you somebody who can feel a lot, whose mind can wander, whose spirit can wander, but he probably also did things to get this about. And not only did he do things to get this about, because if you drink coffee, your mind or spirit can wander. It is something like this. Well, then you just, or maybe it's your shadow then, whatever, I don't know, are we supposed to name these things? So all you gotta do then is to learn how this works, but you need grounding, otherwise it's useless. Because let your mind wander, let your spirit wander, but you're not gonna create anything because you lack resolve. If you've got resolve, then you've got a really strong body, really strong, man. And for that I'm going pounding myself in nature. Just to harden. It's not to just beat myself up. It is a pounding. But so is a massage, a proper massage, not these, gentle now. I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah, I mean, if I'd massage you, you wouldn't get goosebumps. You would run around, run out of the session screaming. So I'm not gonna massage anyone. I'm just gonna tell them to go hiking barefoot. I'm just gonna tell them to sleep on the ground. That's gonna get rid of all your little weird things. So hold your planks. You don't need massages. Nobody needs a massage. But you need to sort out the knots in your feet. And you need to do some stretching. But most of all, you need hardening. And that's what people also rarely say. And maybe that's just me, right? Some people, they stretch for hours. I don't know what it's for. I mean, I'm stretching. I do my stretching, but for me, it's mostly hardening. Hardening. And people just don't get that. And maybe it's because I'm an Aquarius, I'm super watery. I think every human is the same in that sense. You have to do your hardening. If you don't do it, you're just a weakling. I mean, go and stretch all day. But what's it for? I mean, if it's your method, then go and do it. And maybe it is this thing, you need to do this in this life so that in the next life you can do something else. Yeah, whatever. I don't really think it matters. You just have to push through. So maybe I'm a warrior or something like this. Yeah. All humans used to be like this. I may be especially vicious in a certain sense. But I believe that all humans used to be like nature is. I mean, there's whiny chimpanzees, right? And then there's really hard, like the scar-faced chimpanzees. So you've got probably whiny offspring. Like the example of a shoebill, or any bird or any animal that has, with the shoebills, it's this idea, they can only bring through one. They'll just let the other one starve. Yeah, okay, you're weak, die. You know, you're not for nature. Plus, catching food is hard work, so... Yeah, in a way it is like this. You have to be tough, or you won't survive. As an individual, that's what I'm saying. You as an individual won't survive. You'll just be like everyone else. Yet hard the travail. Okay, cling though to me. Fuck off, man. This is just dependency. What are you, the state? Cling to me, you know, I'm gonna give you security. Yeah, but at what cost? Yo. But if thy thought droops from such height, if thou bear'st weak to set body and soul... Money. This is so disgusting, I cannot continue reading this. I'm just gonna go through it. This is so me. So shalt thou come for the blah, blah, blah. You know, if I'm constantly thinking about you, then what about myself? Because I also have to pay attention to how I'm doing. Which is why I shouldn't sit around and dwell on other people. I just have to be in the moment. And in the moment, I am right here. So what's the point of looking for something outside of yourself always? It has to be a place in myself that I can connect to. And that doesn't have a name. It doesn't have even a face. It's just a feeling. Here I'm home. And I can carry this feeling anywhere. But if you want to grow and have life evolve around you, then you have to ground yourself, settle down, and start doing something. Okay, who hateth not of all which lives? Yeah. Stainless, serene, well balanced. Yeah, okay. Working with me, you know, it's always with me, fixed in faith on me. What are you talking about? I mean, he got what he wanted, right? The author. Everybody's worshipping this. Yeah, I mean... Yeah. So, see, this is basically... you say you should, you know, love should be unconditional, right? It's the idea of the all-loving mother or father. Love is unconditional. Now, get this one. Linked by no ties to earth, steadfast in me, that man I love. And then he says, but most of all I love those happy ones to whom 'tis life to live in single fervid faith and love unseeing, drinking the blessed amrit of my being. So he says, I only love who loves me. Ah, so you've got nothing to give, but you want my love? And then you say, yeah, okay, if you love me, then I'm gonna love you back. Well, why can't you just love me anyway? I mean, why do I have to sit around loving you? I mean, I get it, in a marriage, we should both love each other. But imagine a woman may not be able to love you as much as you love her. Are you then willing to love her more just because you can? Well, if you cannot do this, then forget about it. Because I believe that this Krishna guy, who is so, I am this, oh yeah, I'm all of it. Yeah, you know who he should love? He should love the ones that have no love at all. Not for themselves, not for anyone. That's who he should love. Or whom he should love. But instead, he's only loving the ones that love me. So he only goes to the people that have love. Yeah? If you're stuttering, you have to drag it out. Somebody who had a bad stutter told me about this. And he said every time there was a woman, he was starting to... and then he learned to ba. So you want to say better, I'm doing much, and then at some point you learn to say, to do much better. Sometimes I'm doing this when I feel like my speech is kind of, then I drag it out a little. Okay, you see what I'm telling you, right? If this was God or something, then, you know, there should be, if he realizes, okay, there's this guy, he really has no love for himself, well then show him the light, man. If he doesn't know the light, show it to him. And then he know what he's looking for. Oh wow, you know, there's something I can look for. But this guy, he just says, yeah, if you've got love, love me, and then I'll love you back. Yeah, but not as much, no? So he's just sucking you dry. That's the state. That's exactly what this is. This is the Krishna guy in here. The phoniest of all of them. Yeah, you may not get this, but I'm getting it. Because I've had this a lot of times. If you've got a lot of love, then it's better to not sit around and worship, I don't know, guys who want it all for themselves so they can stand around and say, yeah, I'm this, I'm that. You should love the ones that work hard, right? That actually do something, that want to contribute. He doesn't want to contribute, he just wants to meddle. Now, I want to get you to do what I think you should be doing, right? Okay. It's not really I mean, it's far worse, the Bhagavad Gita. And I don't believe that it's gonna be that much different. I mean, if I would talk to an Indian, yeah, I wouldn't really be interested what he has to say anyway, because this is what people here are reading, the translated version. And that I can tell is just nonsense. I don't know how it is in India, but like I said, India isn't doing that well either. So whatever they worship, I don't care. They should just be creative, stop watching porn and be in the moment. And stop eating sugar. Right? Everybody claims you have to be a vegan. I have met vegans that made cake with lots of sugar in it. So the message is, you don't have to be a vegan, just stop eating sugar. Stop drinking alcohol. You know, you can eat meat, don't worry about that stuff, but stop eating sugar. Because believe it or not, sugar is really unnatural. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna end this chapter. Here endeth chapter 12, entitled Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti! That's the love thing, right? Or the book of the religion of faith. It says nothing of this. Are you getting it? The book of the religion of faith? It doesn't say anything about faith. It just says you just have to love me. You just have to look for me, but that's not faith. Faith is, I believe I can do it. If I sit around and I have faith, you know, I can do something. Or I sit around and I just give all my love, which is attention, to some made-up figure. Yeah, why are you feeding that guy? What about your wife? What about your children? What about your parents? People who actually did something for you? So you want to go around worship birds? You cannot do this. You can listen to them, you can learn their song, you can even find out how they're called, and then name them, and then you know something about ornithology. But you cannot worship make-believe gods like self-proclaimed whatever beings. You know, anyone who's true will never tell you, please follow me, please do this for me. So you've got creators on YouTube, they just keep telling you this. And then they say, yeah, please follow me. Huh? If you have to ask me. You know, people, I don't even know why people do this. Why do people follow people who ask to be followed, but not the ones who don't ask it? You know, if you've got something to give, people don't want to spend time with your stuff because it's too scary then. But if you've got nothing to give, they'll suck up to you. I just don't really understand this. You know, if you're better than them, they don't want to follow you. They'll follow you if you're a bit like weird, you know. But if you're intimidating, yeah, I cannot follow that guy. He's a bit too intimidating. Uh-huh. You know, I only follow people that don't feel like they could really get me to change. Okay, chapter 12 ended. I think that's also long enough.